Hi everyone, you are welcome to our series again on question and explanation of why the answers are correct using past questions of May, June 2017, past questions of WAEC objectives to understand biology. Now, what we are going to do is that before I start this particular content on this question, I want you to hit that subscribe button so that we can continue to learn and see additional materials that are related to what I've been doing for the benefit of our dear students and learners writing certificate examination. Now, we are going to unleash to you here additional things that will help us to understand the answers to some of these important questions, reasons behind the answer. And we have a question that was picked from WASSCE May June 2017, and it's a past question objective. And in that question, we have this massive and interesting diagram that has been represented. And what you see here is that if you look at the question, it says the diagram is an illustration of the urinary tubule in a mammal. Study it and answer questions 13 to 15. Study it and answer questions 13 to 15. Now let us actually study this diagram. This diagram you see is actually titled the diagram of urinary tubule. Urinary tubule. Please be informed that urinary tubule is also called kidney tubule, alright? Or they can even call it nephron. Kidney nephron. They can call it kidney nephron. Don't get confused at all. In any examination apart from WAEC, please be careful so that if they don't call it urinary tubule, they can call it kidney tubule. They can also call it what? Kidney nephron. It all means the same. This tubule you see is that singular unit that is responsible for urine formation in the human body. Now what I'm holding here is a sample of WAEC past question, the hard copy that was raised from here. And if you go to your hard copy, I just pick only question number 13 and 14 to give the explanation on this, okay? So what we do now is that we are going to use this question to understand what we know about the human mammalian kidney and the process of excretion. Now, that is the diagram. Let's study it again. Now, you notice that there are parts that are labeled here. Of course, if you don't understand this diagram, there is just no way you can attempt these questions. Now, let's give the label parts by name first. This part that is called number 1 is actually known as the Bowman's capsule, right? Bowman's capsule. That is the name of the part called number 1 there. Bowman's capsule. That number 2, you notice there's an arrow going in that drawing. That arrow going in means that blood is entering it. That particular one is known as renal artery. That is the renal artery that brings blood into the kidney, right? Now, when blood enters the kidney, that blood now finds its way into this particular vessel and enter into the Bowman's capsule, okay? Now, the other one coming out, showing that arrow is coming out, that number 3 shows that blood is already filtered. That one is called renal vein, so that you don't get it confused in examination. Now, the entire structure, as I said, is called the kidney tubule. Now, you notice that they label the part here for us. That part is called the collecting duct. Collecting duct. It is called the collecting duct. Collecting duct. That is where the urine is eventually collected and it's sent to the ureter and finally to our bladder and is excreted. Now, I want you to understand that when you go to my channel, the Art Apex Biology, you will see where I gave lessons on the human excretory system. There, you now see how this singular structure is found inside one particular kidney, all right? Now, this kidney, this structure you see, you have 1 million of them in a single kidney. 1 million. What we did now is that they just pull out only one out of that 1 million and expanded the diagram. So this is the unit that is responsible for forming urine in our body. Now, why I am going to the extent of explaining this diagram is because the question says that we should do what? we should study the diagram. Study it. We are studying it. That's why we are actually explaining it here, so that you know that one of the principles of studying it is to also understand other parts of this diagram, so that it doesn't take us unaware in an examination. Now, you notice that that renal artery continues into this place, all right? Within inside this place, now this renal artery formed this ball here. This structure inside that is not labeled in WAEC, that structure you want to study it is known as glomerulus. Glomerulus, all right? Then you will notice that within the Bowman's capsule that you see here now have a series of coil tubes that go like this, that is close to the Bowman's capsule. This coil tube is called proximal coiled tubule. Proximal coiled tubule. This is biology. All right. Then it entered a U. It formed a U tube here, like a U-shaped tube. That U-shaped tube is called Henle's loop. Some call it loop of Henle. Okay. Now the other side, you notice that the coil tube continued before it reached to the collecting duct. This area where you have this other tube that is far away from this Bowman's capsule, this one is proximal, meaning that it is near. These ones that are coiled and far, we call it distal coiled tubule. Distal coiled tubule. Distal coiled tubule. All right? You see the biology behind this. Distal coiled tubule. Sorry for the small size of the board, okay? Now, what we are passing a message here. Now, WAEC, in their wisdom, decided to set this question using number 1, which is what you see on the question. They say we should identify number 1, we should identify number 2, we're going to identify number 3, and we're going to see how number 4 is related to the question. This is the unit that is responsible for forming urine in our human body. Now, be informed that if you go to that my video, you also see where I explain the process of urine formation. Usually, urine is formed when blood enters into the renal artery. The blood that enters the renal artery contains glucose, water, urea, mineral salts, and also as they go into it, it enters the renal artery, and then once it gets there, the glomerulus will allow the blood to filter that particular product under high pressure. Once the blood is filtered inside that place they call the glomerulus, the materials that will enter here will now be glucose, water, amino acid, and urea. But protein will remain inside that place. Protein will remain inside that place and still return. Protein can never be filtered. So once protein returns back, because the molecules of proteins are large, red blood cell cannot be filtered because they are large. White blood cell cannot filter through because they are also large. But it's only water, mineral salt, amino acid, and glucose that will pass through this place, and urea. It will now be transported through the proximal tubule down to the Henle's loop, up to the distal tubule, and then gradually, the urine will start forming, water will be there, then mineral salt will be there, then urea will be there. So the water, urea, and mineral salt is what forms our urine. The urine will now move into this place they call the collecting duct, and then be transported to the ureter and gather in our bladder. We excrete it. I know in your head now you are asking, what happened to the glucose and the amino acid and the water? Those ones, some of them will be reabsorbed back into this particular blood vessel, because surrounding this thing you see, you have additional blood vessel that came around like this, which is not drawn here. They just go around this thing like this, just for you to remember. They go around this thing like that, and then find their way and came and connected with this one. Is that okay? So these ones you see are the capillaries. All right? The capillaries are the one that will absorb the glucose, absorb the mineral, some water, absorb amino acid, and return it back to the renal vein, so that the blood that goes back to the body is blood that does not contain urea. So the kidney is a center for filtration. Now the bottom line is that there are 3 processes that take place inside this unit. One process is called ultrafiltration, filtration under pressure that occurs within the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. The second process is selective reabsorption that occur in the tubules that return the glucose and amino acid back to the blood. And the last one is called tubular secretion that sends out urine out of the body. I think we now understand the question. Let's see whether I can answer this simple why question now. What is the question? Remember, we're taking question 13 to 15. I will take question 13 and 14 today. Then the part 2 will be question 15. All right? It says, the diagram is an illustration of the urinary tubule in a mammal. Study it. We have studied it. And answer the question 13 to 15. Let's take 13 and 14 for today. Which of the following is found in the part labeled 2 only? Pay attention to that word. It's very deceptive. It can get you confused. Which of the following is found in the part labeled 2 only? The part labeled 2 here is the renal artery. Is it lipid? Lipid is not found inside the renal artery because lipid is fats and oil. And already, when we take food that contain fat and oil, it is absorbed into what is called the lacteal that is located inside the villi, inside the villus of the small intestine. So definitely, this is not part of the answer. Lipid cannot even be part of the answer because the moment lipid enters there, that means we'll be urinating oil, which is impossible. Okay? Now, let's go to the second part. They said, which of the following is found in the part labeled 2 only? Protein. Protein can only be found inside the renal artery only because protein can never filter out of the glomerulus. It remains inside the glomerulus and continues its journey. So that is why we don't release protein into our urine. Protein is not in our urine. So protein is likely the correct answer. But let's check others to see whether it is only, all right? Then they now said, which of the following is found in the part labeled 2 only? Salt. Definitely we have mineral salt inside the renal artery, and again we can also find salt inside the urinary tubule here, the hairless loop. We can find salt. So it's not only there. Okay? Then what about water? We can find water again inside the renal artery, and then we can also find water inside this. So it's not only. So the one that is the only one that is found inside the number 2, our correct answer, as you can follow me in this conversation, is no other than this one that is called protein. So protein is our answer, and that is what you should shade in the examination. Remember that if examiner want to test you again, apart from protein, you can also find only red blood cells there only. They can be only the one found inside the renal artery. Because red blood cell cannot also pass through that glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule. So if they don't use protein, they can use red blood cell. Understood? That's why that's the answer. Then the second one is question 14. The part which contains the lowest concentration of urea is labeled what? Urea is the poison. Definitely we have urea inside the renal artery as number 2. We have urea inside the Bowman's capsule because it has been filtered. We have urea in all these tubes. We have urea in number 4. So there's urea in number 2. There's urea in number 1. There's urea in number 4. What about number 3? Number 3 definitely will not have urea because that is where the urea has already leaked out of this place. Urea has come out of here. So the one going back will not have urea. So the correct answer will be number what? 3. That is why when renal vein is returning blood back to our body, it is free of urea. And then that means that the blood has been purified by the kidney. So that means that if you look at our option now, the answer cannot be A, the answer cannot be B, the answer but definitely be what? Be C. Clearly, we have explained and reasoned why the answers are correct. Subscribe to Apes Biology to learn more. Have a great day. Bye.